Winning Through Intimidation by Robert Ringer. Introduction. Winning Through Intimidation by Robert Ringer is more than just a guidebook for success. It's a powerful exploration of human dynamics, especially in the context of business and life. The central message of the book is both simple and profound. The world is filled with individuals and systems that will try to intimidate you, and the key to success is not allowing yourself to be dominated by these forces. Instead, Ringer encourages you to learn how to recognize intimidation, understand its subtle forms, and turn it into an opportunity for success. Ringer doesn't suggest you become an intimidator or adopt unethical tactics to get ahead. Instead, he shows you how to navigate the real world, where people are often self-serving, manipulative, and focused on their own interests. His philosophy is rooted in self-preservation and resilience. He teaches you how to protect yourself, how to see through the games people play, and how to come out on top by staying prepared, calm, and focused. The author, Robert Ringer, is a successful real estate broker and entrepreneur, and the book is filled with personal stories that illustrate his ideas. He offers practical wisdom that can be applied in any competitive environment, whether it's business, negotiations, or personal relationships. Ringer's style is direct, and he pulls no punches when discussing the often harsh realities of life. This summary is intended to offer a detailed breakdown of Ringer's key concepts, but remember, to fully appreciate the depth of his insights, it's best to read the full book. Let's begin this journey by exploring the core principles laid out in each chapter. Chapter 1. The Reality of Intimidation. In the opening chapter of the book, Ringer lays out a crucial truth. Intimidation is a constant presence in both business and life. Whether you realize it or not, people are always trying to intimidate you, sometimes in subtle ways, sometimes more overtly. The key to thriving in such an environment is recognizing when intimidation is happening and refusing to let it influence your actions. At first, it might seem as though intimidation is only something that happens in high-stakes business deals or negotiations. However, Ringer points out that intimidation happens in everyday situations as well. For example, you might experience intimidation at work when a colleague talks over you in meetings, trying to undermine your confidence and authority. You might face it in social situations, where someone uses their status, wealth, or connections to make you feel small or less important. Intimidation is a psychological game, and it's one that people play more often than you may think. Ringer offers a personal story from his real estate career to highlight this point. Early on, he would often encounter clients and colleagues who seemed more experienced, more knowledgeable, or more powerful than he was. They would use this perceived superiority to pressure him into making concessions or agreeing to terms that weren't in his favor. At first, Ringer found himself intimidated by these tactics, but over time, he learned to see through the facade. He realized that most intimidation is a bluff, an attempt to manipulate your perception of yourself. The real lesson in this chapter is that intimidation only has as much power as you give it. The people trying to intimidate you are often no more capable or qualified than you are. Their intimidation tactics are designed to shake your confidence and make you doubt yourself, but once you understand this, you can refuse to be influenced by it. The moment you stop allowing others to intimidate you, you take back control of your situation. Ringer also emphasizes that while it's important to recognize intimidation, it's equally important not to become an intimidator yourself. Using fear or manipulation to get ahead may yield short-term results, but in the long run, it damages your reputation and relationships. The true power lies in resisting intimidation while maintaining integrity and focusing on your goals. Chapter 2. The Three Types of People. In this chapter, Ringer introduces you to a simple yet profound framework for understanding the types of people you will encounter in life and business. He divides people into three categories, each characterized by how they interact with others, especially in competitive or transactional settings. Type 1. The weak person. The weak person is typically someone who does not actively seek to harm or take advantage of others. They are often well-meaning and kind-hearted, but their major flaw is that they allow themselves to be taken advantage of. Weak people often have a passive approach to life, believing that if they are nice to others, the world will be nice to them in return. Unfortunately, they frequently become victims of stronger, more assertive personalities. Ringer points out that while these individuals may have good intentions, their inability to stand up for themselves makes them easy targets for intimidation. In business, a weak person may accept unfavorable deals, give in to pressure, or allow others to dominate discussions, simply because they lack the confidence or assertiveness to push back. The takeaway is that you must recognize if you fall into this category and work to develop more self-confidence and resilience. Type 2. The strong person. The strong person is not someone who seeks to harm or manipulate others, but they are also not someone who will allow themselves to be victimized. Strong people are assertive, confident, and self-assured. They understand that in any competitive environment, whether it's a business negotiation or a social interaction, there are always power dynamics at play. The strong person is aware of these dynamics and knows how to navigate them without becoming a victim. Ringer encourages you to model yourself after the strong person. This type of individual knows when to stand their ground and when to walk away from a bad deal. They are not intimidated by others, and they refuse to let fear or manipulation dictate their decisions. In essence, the strong person is someone who has mastered the art of self-preservation while maintaining fairness and integrity. Type 3. The intimidator. The third type of person is the intimidator, and this is the individual you need to be most wary of. Intimidators actively seek to manipulate, dominate, and control others. They thrive on making people feel small, insecure, or inadequate, using these tactics to gain the upper hand in negotiations or social interactions. Intimidators come in many forms. Some are aggressive and overt in their tactics, while others are more subtle and cunning. Ringer explains that intimidators often use psychological manipulation to create a sense of superiority. They may exaggerate their accomplishments, lie about their experience, or project an aura of authority that makes others feel as though they cannot compete. The key to dealing with intimidators is to recognize their tactics for what they are, a ploy to make you doubt yourself. Once you see through their facade, you can refuse to be intimidated and hold your ground. The main takeaway from this chapter is that you need to identify which type of person you are dealing with in any given situation. This understanding will help you navigate interactions more effectively. Strong people are those you can build mutually beneficial relationships with, while intimidators are individuals you need to protect yourself against. Most importantly, Ringer urges you to avoid being the weak person. In life and in business, it's essential to cultivate strength and self-reliance to avoid becoming a victim of intimidation. Chapter 3. The Iceberg Theory. Ringer introduces the iceberg theory, a concept that serves as a metaphor for how you should approach any business deal, negotiation, or interaction. The idea is that what you see on the surface is only a small fraction of the full picture, much like how an iceberg only shows a small portion above the water, while the majority of it remains hidden beneath the surface. In business, and life in general, people often present a polished, surface-level version of themselves or their offers, but there is usually much more going on beneath the surface. The visible part of the iceberg may seem straightforward and transparent, but the hidden part often contains the real motivations, intentions, and potential pitfalls. The iceberg theory encourages you to always assume that there is more to the story than what is being presented, and it's your responsibility to dig deeper. Ringer offers an example from his real estate career, where deals that seemed too good to be true usually were. On the surface, the terms of the deal would appear favorable, but upon closer inspection, there were hidden clauses, legal complications, or undisclosed financial risks. The lesson here is that you should never take things at face value. Always assume that there is more happening behind the scenes, and make it your mission to uncover the truth before making decisions. This theory applies to more than just business deals. In everyday interactions, people often hide their true intentions or feelings behind a mask. For example, someone might seem friendly and supportive on the surface, but they may secretly be working against you or harboring negative intentions. The iceberg theory reminds you to stay vigilant and not be swayed by appearances alone. One practical application of this theory is to always ask more questions. If someone presents you with an offer or opportunity, don't be afraid to dig deeper. Ask for more details, seek clarity on vague points, and investigate potential risks. The more information you have, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions. Ringer also emphasizes the importance of always preparing for the worst-case scenario. If you go into a situation expecting everything to go perfectly, you're setting yourself up for failure. Instead, assume that things will be more complicated than they appear and plan accordingly. This mindset not only protects you from being caught off guard, but also gives you a psychological edge in dealing with others. Chapter 4. The Reality of Business and Life. This chapter is where Ringer presents one of the hardest truths in the book. The world is not a fair place, and it's naive to expect otherwise. In both business and life, people will often act in their own self-interest, even at the expense of others. The sooner you accept this reality, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the competitive landscape. Ringer explains that fairness is an illusion. People often enter into business or personal relationships expecting others to act fairly, but the reality is that most people are looking out for themselves first and foremost. This isn't necessarily a reflection of their morality, but rather a natural aspect of human behavior. Everyone has their own goals, desires, and motivations, and they will prioritize these over your well-being. In business, this means that you need to protect yourself at all times. Don't assume that others will have your best interests at heart, because more often than not, they won't. Ringer shares examples from his career where clients and colleagues made promises they had no intention of keeping. Whether it was a handshake deal that fell through or a verbal agreement that was later retracted, Ringer learned the hard way that relying on others to act in a fair and honorable way is a recipe for disappointment. Instead, Ringer advises you to always take a proactive approach. Make sure that every agreement is in writing, and don't rely on verbal promises or good faith. This doesn't mean you should become distrustful or cynical, but rather that you should approach every situation with a healthy level of skepticism and protect your own interests. One of the key points in this chapter is that you need to abandon the idea that fairness will somehow be bestowed upon you. If you want to succeed, you have to create your own opportunities and protect yourself from being taken advantage of. Fairness is not something you wait for. It's something you ensure by being prepared and assertive. The chapter also touches on the importance of emotional resilience. When you enter into a business deal or negotiation expecting fairness and it doesn't happen, it's easy to feel frustrated or disillusioned. However, Ringer emphasizes the need to stay calm and composed in the face of adversity. If you allow your emotions to dictate your actions, you're giving away your power. Instead, you should approach every situation with a clear head, understanding that the world is inherently unfair, but that doesn't mean you can't succeed within it. Chapter 5. Always protect yourself. Ringer drives home a critical point in this chapter. You must always protect yourself in every situation. Whether you're negotiating a deal, entering into a contract, or simply engaging in everyday interactions, it's essential to make sure that your interests are safeguarded. One of the most common mistakes people make, according to Ringer, is assuming that others will act in good faith. This assumption leaves you vulnerable to being taken advantage of by those who are more self-serving or manipulative. The only way to protect yourself is to be vigilant and proactive in ensuring that your interests are covered at all times. Ringer emphasizes that protecting yourself doesn't mean being paranoid or distrusting everyone. Instead, it's about being smart and strategic in how you approach situations. For example, if you're entering into a business deal, make sure that everything is clearly spelled out in writing. Don't rely on vague verbal agreements or assumptions, as these can easily be manipulated or disregarded later on. In his real estate career, Ringer frequently encountered situations where people tried to back out of deals or change the terms at the last minute. Had he not been diligent about protecting himself, by getting everything in writing and ensuring that all parties were legally bound to the agreement, he would have lost out on numerous opportunities. The lesson here is that you should never leave anything to chance. Always assume that people will act in their own self-interest, and make sure that your interests are protected, no matter what. Another important aspect of protecting yourself is learning to say no. Ringer explains that many people fall into the trap of agreeing to things that aren't in their best interest, simply because they don't want to seem difficult or uncooperative. However, this is a dangerous habit that can lead to long-term consequences. If a deal or agreement doesn't align with your goals or values, you need to be willing to walk away. Ringer also touches on the importance of setting boundaries. In business and personal relationships, people will often push your limits to see how much they can get away with. If you don't set clear boundaries and stand firm when they're tested, you're inviting others to take advantage of you. By protecting yourself and your interests, you not only safeguard your success, but also earn the respect of those around you. Chapter 6. Don't wait for things to be fair. One of the most liberating concepts in winning through intimidation is the idea that you should never wait for things to be fair before you take action. Ringer explains that fairness is not a natural state of the world. It's something that is created, often through perseverance, assertiveness, and careful planning. Many people make the mistake of waiting for the perfect conditions to arise before they make their move. They believe that once things are fair, or once others start acting in a fair manner, they will have the opportunity to succeed. However, this mindset is flawed because fairness is rarely, if ever, handed to you. If you're waiting for fairness to arrive, you'll be waiting a long time. Instead, Ringer encourages you to take action regardless of whether the playing field is fair or not. In fact, he argues that most of the time, the playing field won't be fair, and that's precisely why you need to be proactive. Successful people don't wait for fairness. They create their own opportunities and ensure their success by being persistent and prepared. Ringer shares a story from his early career where he was involved in a deal that seemed stacked against him. The other party had more experience, more resources, and more connections. On the surface, it seemed like an unfair situation, and Ringer could have easily backed down and waited for a more fair opportunity to come along. However, instead of waiting for fairness, he decided to push forward, using his determination and preparation to level the playing field. In the end, he succeeded not because the situation became fair, but because he refused to let the unfairness stop him. The key takeaway from this chapter is that you have to create your own fairness by taking control of your situation. If you're waiting for others to act fairly or for the conditions to be perfect, you're giving away your power. Success is about taking action, even when the odds are against you, and finding ways to turn unfavorable situations to your advantage. This doesn't mean you should abandon ethics or morality. Ringer is not advocating for ruthless or unfair behavior. Instead, he's suggesting that you take ownership of your success and refuse to be a victim of circumstances. By staying proactive and focusing on what you can control, you can overcome even the most unfair situations. Chapter 7. The Power of the Prepared Mind. Preparation is one of the most vital themes in winning through intimidation, and in this chapter, Ringer delves deeper into why having a prepared mind is essential for success. According to Ringer, preparation is your greatest weapon against intimidation, manipulation, and failure. When you're prepared, you're far less vulnerable to the tactics others might use against you. The prepared mind is one that has thought through every possible scenario. Whether you're entering a business negotiation, preparing for a job interview, or even having a difficult conversation, being prepared means you've anticipated all the potential outcomes. You've considered the worst-case scenarios, thought through your responses, and mentally rehearsed your actions. When you're fully prepared, nothing can catch you off guard. Ringer emphasizes that preparation is more than just knowing the facts or having all the information at hand. It's about mentally and emotionally preparing yourself for whatever may come. When you've thought through the worst-case scenario and are prepared to handle it, you automatically reduce the intimidation factor. Intimidation often works because people feel unprepared and unsure of what to do, but when you've already considered every possibility, you're in a much stronger position. One of Ringer's personal stories highlights the importance of preparation. In one of his early real estate deals, he encountered a client who was notorious for backing out of agreements at the last minute. Knowing this, Ringer meticulously prepared for every potential obstacle, making sure that all agreements were in writing and that there were legal consequences for any breach of contract. When the client tried to back out, Ringer was fully prepared, and the deal went through because he had anticipated the move. Preparation is not just about protecting yourself from others, it's also about building your own confidence. When you're prepared, you feel more in control, and that confidence radiates to others. It becomes much harder for people to intimidate you when you exude a sense of calm and assurance, and that confidence often leads to better outcomes in negotiations and relationships. Chapter 8. Maintaining a positive attitude in the face of setbacks. Setbacks are inevitable, regardless of how prepared you are or how well you handle intimidation. In this chapter, Ringer emphasizes the importance of maintaining a positive attitude, especially when things don't go as planned. According to Ringer, the true test of success is not how you perform when everything is going well, but how you respond when you face obstacles and failures. One of the most powerful points in this chapter is the idea that setbacks are not the end. They are simply part of the process. Too many people view failure as a final outcome, but Ringer encourages you to see it as a stepping stone toward success. Every time you experience a setback, you're given an opportunity to learn and grow, and this growth is what ultimately leads to long-term success. Ringer shares personal stories of deals that fell through at the last minute or clients who backed out of agreements after months of negotiation. In each of these cases, Ringer could have easily given up or become disillusioned with the process. However, instead of letting these setbacks defeat him, he used them as learning experiences. He examined what went wrong, adjusted his strategies, and came back stronger each time. A key takeaway from this chapter is that your attitude toward failure and setbacks will determine your ability to succeed in the long run. If you allow failures to discourage you or make you feel defeated, you're giving away your power. But if you approach setbacks with a positive attitude, focusing on what you can learn and how you can improve, you'll find that failure becomes a temporary obstacle rather than a permanent roadblock. Ringer also touches on the importance of emotional resilience. When things don't go your way, it's easy to feel frustrated or disheartened. However, Ringer encourages you to stay calm and focused, even in the face of adversity. Emotional resilience is what allows you to keep moving forward, even when things seem impossible. It's the ability to bounce back from setbacks that separates the truly successful people from those who give up at the first sign of difficulty. In practical terms, this chapter encourages you to develop a mindset of persistence and optimism. Instead of viewing failure as a negative outcome, see it as part of the journey. Every setback brings you one step closer to success, as long as you remain committed to learning and improving along the way. Chapter 9. The Formula for Success. Ringer's formula for success is both simple and profound. He distills his entire philosophy into three essential components: determination, preparation, and perseverance. These three qualities, when combined, create a powerful framework for achieving success in any area of life. Determination. Determination is the unwavering drive to succeed, no matter what obstacles come your way. According to Ringer, determination is the foundation of success. It's what keeps you moving forward, even when the odds are stacked against you. Determination is the mindset that says, "I will succeed, no matter how long it takes or how difficult the journey may be." Ringer explains that determination is often the differentiating factor between those who succeed and those who don't. Many people give up too soon, allowing setbacks and failures to discourage them. But those who are truly determined keep pushing forward, no matter how many times they fail. In Ringer's own career, his determination to succeed kept him going through countless setbacks, and it's what ultimately led to his success. Preparation. Preparation, as discussed in Chapter 7, is another critical component of success. Without preparation, even the most determined individuals can fall short. Ringer explains that preparation gives you the tools and confidence you need to navigate difficult situations. When you're fully prepared, you're less likely to be intimidated, and you're better equipped to handle whatever comes your way. Ringer emphasizes that preparation isn't just about gathering information, it's about mentally rehearsing every possible scenario. By preparing for the worst-case scenario, you reduce your vulnerability to intimidation and increase your chances of success.